Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news now, folks. Today we're diving into a story that's been buzzing around the NFL and especially among Falcons fans. It's a trade rumor that could shake the NFC South and has major implications for the Atlanta Falcons. We're talking about Kirk Cousins potentially moving from Atlanta to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, you heard that right. This isn't just some random speculation. It's something that could actually happen, and it's rooted in some interesting football logic and strategic moves. So, let's unpack this story from the beginning, because the NFL offseason always brings surprises, and this one might be one of the most intriguing. First, let's set the scene. The Jacksonville Jaguars, led by Trevor Lawrence, are entering the 2025 season with a lot of expectations. Lawrence, who was drafted first overall back in 2021, has been under the microscope since he arrived. Many thought he'd be an immediate superstar, a franchise quarterback who would carry Jacksonville to victory after victory. But the reality has been a little more complicated. Despite flashes of brilliance, Lawrence has struggled to consistently meet those sky-high expectations. Last season, he faced some ups and downs, and with a new coaching staff and a roster trying to find its identity, the pressure is mounting. The Jaguars are eager to solidify their quarterback position, and naturally, they're always looking for ways to improve their roster, whether that's through the draft or trades. On the other side, we have Kirk Cousins, a veteran who has been a steady presence in the NFL for 13 seasons now. Cousins is known for his solid arm, good decision-making, and consistency. Last year, he threw for over 500 yards with 18 touchdowns, but he also threw 16 interceptions. His stats are impressive, but what really makes him intriguing in this context is his current situation with the Atlanta Falcons. You see, Cousins is in a unique position. He's a player who clearly wants to start, wants to be a franchise quarterback again, but he's also aware that his window is closing a bit at 37 years old. Last season, he was benched at times, and there's been talk about the Falcons considering a change, especially considering how they handled the Penix Jr. situation, which raised some eyebrows among fans and analysts alike. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. Recently, a trade idea has been floated by Matt Levine of TWSN. He proposed that the Atlanta Falcons could trade Kirk Cousins to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why would Atlanta do that? Well, the idea is that the Falcons might be exploring options. Perhaps they see Penix as their future, or maybe they're just testing the market to see what kind of return they could get. Levine suggests that Atlanta might be willing to part ways with Cousins if they receive a decent draft pick in return, maybe a day 3 pick, which isn't too high but could still be valuable for future building. What's fascinating about this potential trade is the context of Cousins' contract and his no-trade clause. Cousins has made it clear he still wants to start in the NFL, and with the Falcons' current quarterback situation, it's not entirely clear if he'd be happy to stay on as a backup or even face the possibility of being benched again. He's expressed his desire to be a starter, and that's a crucial piece of this puzzle. If he were to waive his no-trade clause, he might see Jacksonville as an attractive destination, mainly because of Trevor Lawrence. Although Lawrence has had his struggles, he's still the unquestioned starter in Jacksonville, and Cousins could see himself as a reliable backup, ready to step in if needed, or even compete for the starting job if circumstances change. But here's the catch: would Cousins really want to go to Jacksonville? The Jaguars, after all, are committed to Lawrence. Despite the ups and downs, they're not likely to bench him anytime soon. So Cousins would be coming into Jacksonville knowing he'd probably be the backup. And for a player of his experience, that's a tough pill to swallow. The question then becomes, what does he gain from this move? Well, the main benefit for Jacksonville would be adding a seasoned veteran who can step in if Lawrence gets injured or struggles. It's about raising their floor and ensuring they have stability at quarterback, especially as they chase Super Bowl aspirations. Now, let's analyze whether this trade makes sense for both sides. Jacksonville, of course, would be looking at a low-cost addition, probably just a draft pick, without giving up much. But for Cousins, it's a different story. He's not just looking for a paycheck, he wants to be a starter. If he stays with Atlanta, he might be stuck in a backup role or fighting for a chance that might never come if Penix continues to develop. Therefore, the trade could be mutually beneficial. If Cousins is willing to waive his no-trade clause and accept a backup role in Jacksonville, which seems unlikely given his recent comments. Plus, considering Cousins' stats, his experience, and the fact that he's been a reliable passer throughout his career, teams might still see him as a valuable asset, especially as a bridge quarterback for younger talents or as insurance. However, the trade's success also depends heavily on Cousins' personal ambitions and the negotiations behind the scenes. If he's determined to stay in the hunt for a starting spot, he might prefer to remain in Atlanta or explore other options. The Falcons, on their part, might be open to parting ways if they feel Penix is ready or if they get a good enough offer. But as it stands, the trade remains speculative. It's a fascinating possibility, though, because it highlights how NFL teams are always looking to optimize their rosters, and veteran quarterbacks like Cousins are often caught in that balancing act between competing, developing young talent, and managing cap space. Now, let's shift gears a little and talk about the Falcons' current situation. Coming into 2025, Atlanta is in a bit of a transitional phase. They've invested heavily in their defense, with young stars emerging and a coaching staff eager to maximize their potential. On offense, they're hoping that Penix can take a big step forward, but they're also aware that having a veteran like Cousins could provide stability. If they decide to keep him, he might be a valuable mentor to the younger players, especially in a division that's getting more competitive each year. The NFC South is no longer just a pushover division. Teams like Tampa Bay and New Orleans are improving, and Carolina is always looking for a fresh start. So every move the Falcons make now could have long-term implications. And let's not forget that the NFL is unpredictable. A trade like this, if it happens, could shake up the entire division dynamic. Jacksonville might see Cousins as a short-term fix, but it could also be a strategic move to keep their options open, especially if Lawrence hits a rough patch or faces injury issues. For Atlanta, losing Cousins might free up cap space and roster spots to focus on their long-term development, especially if Penix shows promise. But it also raises questions about leadership and experience in the locker room. Cousins, with his leadership qualities and steady play, has been a calming presence in the NFL, and his absence could be felt both on and off the field. Furthermore, let's consider the broader NFL landscape. Veteran quarterbacks are always in demand, especially those with proven track records like Cousins. But as players age, teams become more cautious, and the cost-benefit analysis shifts. For Cousins, the decision to waive his no-trade clause or to accept a backup role is huge. It's about legacy, playing time, and the chance to contend for a Super Bowl. If he stays in Atlanta, he might get another shot at starting if Penix falters. But the Falcons' future is also tied to how quickly Penix develops, and whether the team can surround him with enough talent to compete at the highest level. In the end, this hypothetical trade, though still just a rumor, serves as a reminder of how fluid and dynamic NFL rosters are. It's about strategic moves, player desires, team needs, and a lot of negotiation behind the scenes. For Falcons fans, it's a story to watch closely because it could impact the franchise's future and how they approach building a playoff-caliber team in the coming seasons. Whether Kirk Cousins ends up in Jacksonville or stays with Atlanta, one thing's certain: the NFL offseason never sleeps and surprises are always around the corner. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Atlanta Falcons news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. Looking ahead, Falcons fans, the key question is, what's next for your team? The front office's decisions over the coming weeks could shape the entire season. Will they stick with Penix and continue to develop him, or will they explore other veteran options? How does this rumored trade influence their draft strategy? And what about the division? The NFC South is becoming more competitive, and every decision could tip the balance in favor of one team or another. It's an exciting time to be a Falcons supporter because, honestly, the potential for change is huge. The NFL is all about those small, strategic moves that can turn a team's trajectory around, and the Falcons are no exception. They've shown resilience and a willingness to adapt, and maybe, just maybe, a trade like this could be part of a bigger plan to finally put Atlanta back in the Super Bowl conversation. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Atlanta Falcons. Do you think Kirk Cousins would be a good fit in Jacksonville? Or do you believe he should stay put and fight for a starting role in Atlanta? Are you excited to see what the Falcons do next? Remember, the NFL offseason is a roller coaster, and every rumor or speculation adds to the excitement. I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Atlanta Falcons news, rumors, and analysis. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Falcons!